Dick, this is just going to be conversational, and we're going to start out with something really easy. Tell me what Rotary Club you're a member of and how long you've been in Rotary.
I'm a member of the Moorhead City Evening Rotary Club, and I've been a member for probably 41 years.
41 years is amazing. You've seen a lot of history. Are there any things that you remember from your early years in Rotary that stand out?
We moved from Salisbury, North Carolina, and I'd never been in Rotary, or actually never heard that much about Rotary until we moved here. But I had a friend, Harvey Jocelyn, who was in education, and sometimes I would meet him at our meetings in Raleigh when the teachers would gather for their annual meetings. And so he was the one that told me about Rotary and proposed me for Rotary. But until that time, I really had no knowledge of Rotary or what Rotary was all about or what their purpose was or anything. So that was my induction into Rotary.
In your first experiences with Rotary, what was the club like?
When I first joined Rotary, most all the people that were in Rotary have since died. They were the old patriarchs of the community at that time. The mayor, Bud Dixon, all of those guys were in Rotary at that time. There's been a complete changeover just about in the last 40-some years. And I very quickly got immersed in the community and got to know the people who, as an educator that I worked with, because I was in workforce development, that would provide jobs for students. And it was a good experience for me because I got to know the people who would be hiring our students. So that was great to be able to do that quickly and to be immersed in the community and to know all the people in a very short period of time.
That's excellent. Do you remember any service projects that were done back in your early days?
I think we had a hand in the park, funding the park, and they've since added a dog park to it, which I really appreciate because I take my dog there almost every week. So that was one of the big projects that we were involved in. And I don't remember any other major projects, but that was the big one that I remember.
Do you have a experience in Rotary that really touched your heart, that stands out in your memory as something that was heartwarming or had a great impact on you?
I was lucky. I was involved in the Rotary Exchange Program for a number of years. Not that I was an exchange student, but we accepted, Mary Jane and I, exchange students from other countries, and not just young people, but older people, older Rotarians and so we housed them, and we had people from, had a minister from France, and it was an interesting experience to have a minister, and I speak a little bit of French. I took a couple of years in college, so I could converse a little bit with him, although he spoke perfect English, but it gave me a chance to practice my French. So that was one of the experiences that I valued. And my daughter went on the Rotary Exchange Program to France, and she spent all summer there one time, and in exchange, the students that she stayed with came and visited us for a couple of months, so that was a great experience too.
Incredible. That's great. There have been some giants of Rotary. Who, in your mind, was a mentor or a giant of Rotary back when you were a young Rotarian?
I guess I have to say Harvey Jocelyn because he's the one that proposed me. And I had met Harvey before I moved to Moorhead. I didn't know him until I knew him before coming to Moorhead because he was a teacher and I would see him at teacher meetings in Raleigh. So he was the person that stands out in my mind more than any other Rotarian. And it gave me a chance to get to know the mayor at that time, Bud Dixon, and just a number of men that were movers and shakers in the community who were in the Rotary Club at that time. And it was great to be able to get to know them. And to be immersed in a group like that where you immediately have knowledge of a lot of people in the community rather than taking years to get to know people at one at a time over a number of years. I got to know them all very quickly, which was good since I was in education and trying to place students in jobs and things like that, so that was a great help.
This is going to be shown to people in the future. It's going to tell the story of Rotary. It's going to tell the story of the history, what's going on now, and also vision for the future. If you were to say something to the young men and women who are going to view this video in the future, what would you like to share with them about Rotary?
Well, Rotary reminds me somewhat of the Scouts. The Boy Scouts was one of the first clubs I was ever a member of, and actually the only club I was a member of until I joined Rotary, and there's some commonalities in the two clubs. They both put a great deal of emphasis on service. The Boy Scouts is do a good deed daily, and the Rotary is service above self, so there's a commonality there. And I think I would recommend anyone who's interested in joining a club to become a member of Rotary, because Rotary does so much for the community. It's not just something that you do for yourself, but you're also helping other people and helping the community through things like the park that the Rotary had a hand in founding, and a number of other projects that they were involved in.
Finally, is there something that I have not asked you about that you think is really important, that you'd like to have captured on video and captured for the future?
I guess the Rotary, you mentioned this, but the Rotary Exchange Program I think is one of the most valuable things that Rotary can do, because it brings other people into our country and we get a chance to become familiar with their culture and their language. For example, we hosted a lady from Japan, and we hosted a minister from France, and we hosted a lady from England. And I remember one of the remarks she made, a strange thing that you remember about people, but we were, when she came to visit us, we drove into Brandywine, which is a gated community, and a lot of people think, you know, the prestige of a community and all that. And she says, when we drove into Brandywine, she says, "What are the gates for? To keep the undesirables out?" And Mary Jane said, "No, it's to keep the undesirables in." So that was one comment that stands out in my mind after all these years.
All right, all right. I wanted to make sure you got a chance to share anything that was important to you, anything that was on your heart about Rotary, and thank you. I know you said that the International Exchange Program was key for you.
And I guess the most important thing was getting acquainted with the people in Moorhead that were very important to know, the mayor and all the people involved in other projects that I would taken years to get to know. But by being immersed in Rotary for a number of years, you got to meet all of them very quickly, you know, when otherwise you may never have met them at all, or it would have taken a great deal of time to have met them. So that was one of the most valuable things I think I got out of Rotary, was that quick immersion in the community.
You stayed in Rotary for years and years and years. What has kept you in Rotary all this time?
Well, we have speakers, and that's a valuable thing, to have people come in and talk to you about things that you don't know, have no knowledge of. And that's one of the important things. And the other important thing is just a group of individuals that live within the community. You get to know them on a personal basis, not just by name, but you know a little bit about them. We have meetings where wives come and all. You get to know their family. And so I think that's one of the important things, is to very quickly get to know a number of people in the community that would have taken years to know otherwise on your own without being in a club that reaches out like that.
Thank you, Dick. You did a great job.
Yay.
Bravo!